It's the game of the year in the NFC, and the Commanders are playing in it. Let's talk about how they can win. Step into my office. Welcome into Denton's office, your favorite weekly Commanders YouTube show. I don't have much, but I got two things. I got a microphone, which you can't see. I got a whiteboard, which you can see. And only important people have whiteboards. Thursday night is going to be a showdown. You got the Commanders, you got the Eagles, and there are legitimate stakes on the line in the month of November for both teams. Right now, the Eagles sit atop the NFC East because of the Commanders' loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're not going to talk about it. We're just going to move on. But they sit atop the NFC East. I told you last week, I think the Commanders can win 12, potentially 13 games. Because of the loss to Pittsburgh, it means you kind of need this one. Or at least you got to split with Philly. But we'll get to that later. We're talking about Thursday night. This is exciting. How often do you get to see our team, this logo here, as I circle my nipple, in a game that actually matters in November? The recalibration, which we thought was kind of a joke when Dan Quinn said it, has worked. So, how do the Commanders win? How do they go into Philadelphia, a team that's playing arguably the hottest in the NFC? It's them and Detroit in the NFC. The only team playing hotter than those two is the team that hasn't lost in Kansas City. So how do they go in there and beat them? I got a couple of different keys that we're going to get to, and this is going to solidify a Washington Commanders win. The first one, and this is the biggest one. It's the quarterback. We call him Jaden, but I'm going to add a new one. Is Jaden Big Lights? There's going to be conversations, and there are going to be questions asked. How is Jaden Daniels going to respond in primetime? How is Jaden Daniels going to respond against that Philadelphia Eagles fan base? Well, we've already seen the primetime thing. His best game of the season, the game that took the hype that he had been receiving in the offseason, which I would say was a healthy amount of hype. It took that hype and it kicked it into overdrive, was the game against Cincinnati in primetime, under the lights. He's fine in those scenarios, hence Jaden Big Lights. Now, what about Philadelphia's fan base? I would encourage those of you who maybe are unfamiliar with college football to get just a touch more familiar with college football. This dude had one of his best games before an illegal hit knocked him out in his Heisman campaign in Alabama. Not against Alabama, in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa. You know where Alabama doesn't lose a lot? Tuscaloosa. They didn't win that game because they got knocked out, but he was slicing and dicing the final defense of Nick Saban's college career. I understand Philadelphia's fan base, if you just watch the NFL, is like this big monster. I promise you 100,000 drunk rednecks, they're worse. I'm not too concerned about what he's going to be doing against his Philadelphia fan base. I think he's going to have a lot of fun with the Philadelphia fan base. So we got to see Jaden play better than he did against Pittsburgh. I do think a portion of that means he has to run. He didn't run against Pittsburgh, but he's not hurt. We have talked to many people. He is not hurt outside of just the general wear and tear of it being November in the NFL season. The ribs are not a major issue that he is constantly dealing with. He just didn't run against Pittsburgh. He got to run. You got to keep the defense honest. Number two. Terry. As simple as that. It's not October anymore, but it's still scary season. Terry McLaurin is playing the best season of his career by far. By far. Every single comment we had has been validated about him just needing a quarterback. He got a quarterback, and now he's balling out. He's top 3 in yards. He already has 6 touchdown receptions. His career high is 7. He has 6 in November. My guess is that he is going to get double digits this year, the way that he and Jaden have built a rapport. And then on top of all of that, if you watch the game against Pittsburgh last week, man, there were some drops. There were some drops by everybody. You know who didn't drop anything? Terry McLaurin. When your quarterback needs a big reception, who do you go to? You go to Terry McLaurin. He has proven that he is a number one wide receiver. We knew that. But this year, he has taken all of the people that questioned whether or not he was a top 10 wide receiver, myself included, I will be honest, left hand up. And he has proven them wrong. When you got a quarterback, this dude is playing better than all of your favorite wide receivers in the NFL, with the exception of like two. He is absolutely balling. He is kicking ass. You got to feed Terry McLaurin. He has sunned the Philadelphia Eagles defense before. You got to continue doing that, especially with Darius Slay potentially being a little hampered this week. Even if it's not, if it's Quinyon Mitchell, rookie, son him. If it's that white dude, Cooper DeJean, love a white cornerback, son him. Terry should have a big game for the Commanders. They got to protect Jaden because that Philadelphia Eagles defense, they got some dudes on that line. If you protect him, though, Terry's going to be open. He's going to be open. Finally, for the offense, we are going to the run game. We need to feed Brian Robinson. We got to feed Brian Robinson. If you're feeding Brian Robinson and Brian Robinson is making his return, good things are going to happen. He said that he felt like he could have returned last week against Pittsburgh. Now he is trending in the right direction to where he's going to be back on Thursday. This run game is significantly different with this guy. The offense is significantly different with this guy. He just takes you to another level. I love what Austin Eckler is. I love what Chris Rodriguez has done. I even love what we've seen from Jeremy McNichols. None of those dudes are Brian Robinson. None of those dudes are Brian Robinson. So now that he's back, assuming he's going to play, hoping he is going to play, praying that he is going to play, this offense is going to hit another level. And now we step to the defense. This is where you and me are going to be a little frightened. Philadelphia's offense is firing on every single cylinder right now. They have so much talent, and even though they hate their head coach, because their head coach is a goof, and trust me, ask a Philly fan, they hate their head coach. That's the one thing right now that Washington fans and Philly fans are going to agree on. Nick Sirianni is a bit of a goof. But here's what the defense has to do. First and foremost, you got to attack Jalen Hurts. You got to get after Jalen Hurts. This guy was sacked 5 times against the Dallas Cowboys last week. And in spite of all the defensive issues that Washington has had this year, they haven't been awful at getting after the quarterback. They've just been subpar at times at finishing. They're getting hands on him, and they're just not taking him to the ground. Although even in recent weeks, that has changed a little bit. They have not faced anyone since Lamar Jackson who is as mobile as Jalen Hurts. Russ is not as mobile, although he did kind of show like some old school Russ, which pissed me off. But you got to sack Jalen Hurts. You got to. If you make his life uncomfortable, good things are going to happen for you. Number 2, we're going to the run defense. Man, what a run defense this is. They did a decent job against Pittsburgh. They did. Saquon Barkley, with all due respect to Najee Harris, I love Najee Harris. Saquon Barkley is not Najee Harris. There's not a lot of guys in the NFL that are Saquon Barkley. So you have to control Saquon Barkley. How do you do that? I have no idea. I have no idea. That's what Joe Witt is getting paid the big bucks for. You got to control Saquon Barkley. If this dude does a backward hurdle over anybody on the defense, I might cry. I'll be live on air on 106.7 and the Team 980. Make sure you check that out. I might cry if he does a backward hurdle on someone on this defense. That would just be such a gut punch. So you got to control Saquon Barkley. Again, they played well against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got some yards at the end, but it really wasn't like they were getting gashed outside of 1 or 2 plays. The problem is it's consistent. It's 4 yards. It's 3 yards. Sometimes it's 5 yards, even if it's 7. Like those things are consistently happening. You have to control Saquon. You have to tackle well once you get an opportunity. Don't hit the dude up here. You got to go for the legs. He's too strong. I mean, he's even strong down here, but he's too strong to just arm tackle him up top. He's one of the best running backs for a reason. I hate the Giants for letting him walk to Philadelphia. I mean, seriously, Joe Shane, what are we doing? All right, here's the final thing. That offense, A.J. Brown plays there. We remember what happened last year with A.J. Brown. Now, I'm confident that this coaching staff is not going to be searching for a Disney fairy tale and put Emmanuel Forbes on him for the entire game and say, hey, let's see if it works. It didn't work. It sucked, and you killed the kid's confidence. No fairy tales this time. But I actually think that guarding A.J. Brown is a little easier than many people make it out to be. I can describe the way you guard him with one word. It has 4 letters. And I got the red marker here so you can see it better. One word, 4 letters. This is how you stop A.J. Brown. Are you ready? Give me a P. Give me an R. Give me an A and a Y. You pray. If Marshawn Lattimore can't go, I'm not expecting that he'll be able to. If Marshawn Lattimore can't go and you want to guard A.J. Brown, you pray. You pray that he stubs his toe. You pray that he gets locked in a closet during game time. They can't find him. Where'd he go? I don't know. You don't have a viable option to guard him right now. Benjamin St-Juste is very much not it, although come here. Weird. I'm going to bleep that out. Some of y'all are weird with the Benjamin St-Juste tape. Anyway, St-Juste is not the option for A.J. Brown. Noah maybe. He might be your best option. Is not Emmanuel Forbes. We know that. It's not. And the thing with Mikey Sanders still, who might be your best cover guy right now, A.J. Brown's like half a foot taller than he is. Legitimately. I think Brown measures in at like 6'3" or 6'4". Sanders still measures in at 5'9". He's almost an entire foot taller than Mikey Sanders still. Sanders still would be so much better against Devontae Smith. In fact, I hope we get to see a lot of that because I then think Devontae Smith is going to be less of a factor than he's been in previous games. That would be a fun matchup. But as far as A.J. Brown goes, dog, you got to pray. Yeah, I don't know how they stop him. Joe Wick got his work cut out for him. I'm sure that dude has not slept at all because that dude is a monster. The only way that's going to stop A.J. Brown is quite literally the goof that is their head coach and their coaching staff. Outside of that, you pray. I still think Washington can win this one, by the way. I finished with the defense, and the defensive stuff is a little more negative, but I still think Washington can win this one, and the reason is very simple. It's why we started. It's the quarterback. This dude thrives for these kind of atmospheres. This is why we love him. Yes, like whooping up on Cleveland, sick. Beating the Giants, also sick. The stuff in Arizona, great, love it. But the reasons we love him are because for the first time in decades, I'm not afraid of prime time. You're not afraid of prime time. How often do we have to hear about how bad the Commanders' record was in prime time? I trust that Jayden Daniels is going to find ways to make plays in prime time, and that's why I'm confident. I still think Washington can win. I just don't know if they will win because they got to figure out some issues on defense. But if you give Jayden Daniels the ball in his hand with a chance to win and a referee that can see things, I think Washington wins. I think they get back in the win column. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. You can tweet me at the Denton Day. Thanks for stepping in to my office. Now, respectfully, get out.